My hands trembled as I signed the power of attorney papers, knowing full well I was about to become the architect of my family's most painful reckoning. My name is Elena Rodriguez, a 52-year-old Army veteran who served 2 tours in Afghanistan. And this is how I reclaimed my life from the very people who claim to love me most. The small kitchen of my suburban home in Phoenix felt suffocating that morning. Sunlight filtered through dusty blinds, casting long shadows across the linoleum floor where I stood, surrounded by decades of accumulated memories. 15 years after returning from my last deployment, I had become nothing more than a convenient resource for my children, a free babysitter, a financial backstop, a silent supporter who existed solely to meet their endless demands. My military service had taught me resilience, discipline, and strategic thinking. Yet somehow, I had allowed my own family to treat me like a disposable utility, much like the supply chains I once managed in combat zones. Michael, my eldest son, had always been the most vocal about his expectations. A successful corporate lawyer in Chicago, he viewed me less as a mother and more as a potential safety net for his own ambitions. "Mom, we need to talk about your retirement plan," he had said during our last video call, his tone clinical and detached. "Sarah and I have been discussing the most practical approach for your future." Sarah, his wife, nodded in the background, her perfectly manicured hand resting on her designer handbag. The subtext was clear. They saw me as a problem to be managed, not a person with her own desires and dignity. My daughter Elena, named after me but bearing little resemblance to my own spirit, had her own set of expectations. A high school teacher in Tucson, she had mastered the art of emotional manipulation, using guilt as her primary weapon. "Mom, you know how tight things are with the kids' school expenses. Could you help us out just this once?" Those just this once moments had become a monthly ritual, draining my carefully accumulated savings. The VA disability checks and my modest pension were never truly mine. They were viewed as a communal resource, something to be divided and distributed, according to my children's immediate needs. Medical bills, down payments, unexpected expenses. I had become their financial shock absorber, expected to cushion every financial blow without complaint. When I first mentioned my desire to live independently, to perhaps move to a small community for veterans in New Mexico, they had laughed. Not a supportive, loving laugh, but a dismissive chuckle that spoke volumes about their perception of me. "You? Alone? Mom, you can barely manage your own medications," Michael had said during our last family video call. Little did they know that my years in the military had prepared me for far more challenging scenarios than living independently. I had navigated complex supply chains in war zones, coordinated medical evacuations under extreme pressure, and maintained composure when artillery shells rained around my unit. Managing my own life seemed like a considerably less demanding mission. The breaking point came unexpectedly. During a routine medical checkup, my doctor discovered a small but significant issue with my heart. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but a clear indication that I needed to reduce stress and take better care of myself. The medical report became my personal declaration of independence. I remembered the day I was awarded my service medal, standing proud in my uniform, surrounded by fellow soldiers who understood the meaning of sacrifice and resilience. That same courage would now be directed towards reclaiming my life from the very family I had sacrificed everything to support. The house, our family home for over 30 years, was my first strategic move. Located in a rapidly developing area of Phoenix, the property had appreciated significantly. Its value represented not just a financial asset, but a symbol of my accumulated life's work. Michael and Elena had always assumed they would inherit it, treating it as a future windfall rather than recognizing the years of hard work and sacrifice it represented. My military training had taught me the importance of strategic planning. I began gathering documentation, consulting with a financial advisor who specialized in veteran affairs, and quietly preparing my exit strategy. Each document I collected, each conversation I had, was a deliberate step towards my liberation. The irony was not lost on me. I had spent years protecting my country, ensuring the safety and freedom of strangers, yet I had allowed my own children to confine me in an emotional and financial prison of their making. No more. I was about to show them that a veteran spirit doesn't diminish with age. It becomes more refined, more strategic, more determined. My hands, once steady while handling complex military equipment, now carefully drafted the initial paperwork that would change everything. The house would be sold, my finances would be reorganized, and for the first time in decades, I would live entirely on my own terms. They had no idea what was coming. But then again, strategic surprise had always been my most effective weapon. The first sign of trouble came during a routine medical examination at the VA hospital. Dr. Reynolds, a veteran herself with kind eyes that had seen too much, looked at me with a mixture of professional concern and personal understanding. "Elena, we need to run some additional tests," she said, her voice steady but carrying an undercurrent of urgency I recognized from my military days. Weeks of tests followed. Each appointment felt like another reconnaissance mission, gathering intelligence about my own body. The waiting room became my temporary base of operations, filled with other veterans whose stories were etched into their weathered faces. An older gentleman with a prosthetic leg nodded at me, a silent acknowledgement of shared experience that needed no words. When the full diagnosis came, it hit like an unexpected artillery strike. A complex heart condition that would require careful management, potential surgery, and a complete lifestyle reassessment. The medical report wasn't just a list of symptoms, it was a turning point, a moment of reckoning that would expose the true nature of my family's so-called support. I called Michael first. His response was predictably clinical. "Mom, this is going to be complicated. Sarah and I were planning to take a sabbatical next year. This really isn't a good time." The words hung in the air, a stark reminder of how I had become nothing more than a logistical problem to be solved. Elena's reaction was equally telling. "Oh my God, Mom, how are we going to manage this? The medical bills, the care, the rehabilitation?" Her voice trembled, but not with genuine concern. It was the sound of someone calculating potential financial burden, not a daughter worried about her mother's well-being. The hospital room became my war room. I began meticulously documenting everything: medical records, insurance information, potential treatment options. My military training kicked in. Every challenge was a mission to be strategized, every obstacle a terrain to be navigated. A nurse named Maria became an unexpected ally. A daughter of a Vietnam veteran, she understood the unspoken language of military families. "Sometimes," she told me during a late-night check-in, "the biggest battles aren't fought on distant battlefields. They're fought right here, in hospital, rooms and family living rooms." My children's true colors emerged with brutal clarity. Michael began sending increasingly passive-aggressive emails about medical power of attorney and long-term care options. Elena's messages oscillated between dramatic concern and subtle hints about her own financial constraints. They saw me as a problem to be managed, not a person to be supported. The lowest point came during a family video conference. I had requested they join to discuss my medical situation. Michael sat in his pristine home office, Sarah beside him looking uncomfortable. Elena joined from her classroom, barely concealing her irritation at being pulled away from her workday. "So, what exactly are the treatment options?" Michael asked, his tone more suited to a business meeting than a discussion about his mother's health. I took a deep breath. "The doctors recommend a specialized heart procedure. It's complex but has a good success rate." I waited for a response, a word of support, a question about my well-being, anything that might suggest genuine care. Silence stretched between us like an endless desert. Sarah spoke first, her voice carefully modulated. "And the cost? Have you looked into insurance coverage?" Michael nodded, his eyes already calculating potential financial implications. Elena chimed in. "Mom, this is going to be so complicated. Who's going to take care of you?" The question wasn't an offer of support, but a thinly veiled complaint. I realized then that I had been living for them, not for myself. Every sacrifice, every moment of my life had been about supporting their dreams, their ambitions, their comfort. And now, when I needed support, they saw me as nothing more than a logistical challenge. A veteran learns to read terrain, to understand unspoken dynamics. My family's terrain was clear. I was a resource, to be managed, not a person to be loved. That night, in the sterile hospital room, I made a decision. If they wouldn't support me, I would support myself. My military pension, my VA benefits, my carefully hoarded savings, they would become my weapons of independence. I began researching veteran support groups, alternative treatment options, independent living solutions. Each document I filed, each option I explored was an act of rebellion against the narrative they had constructed for me. The house in Phoenix would be my first strategic move. Its sale would provide the financial independence they never expected me to seek. I would no longer be their financial safety net, their convenient solution, their backup plan. As the hospital night settled around me, I felt a familiar sensation, the calm that comes before a critical mission. My battle was just beginning, and for the first time in years, I was fighting for myself. The real estate agent, Karen Thompson, looked at me with a mixture of respect and curiosity. A veteran herself, her husband had served in the Navy. She understood the weight behind my decision to sell the family home. "This isn't just a property sale," she said one afternoon over coffee. "This is a declaration of independence." My Phoenix home had been more than just walls and a roof. It was a repository of 3 decades of family history: birthdays, holidays, arguments, reconciliations. Now, it would become my ticket to freedom. The housing market was favorable, and the property's location in a rapidly developing neighborhood meant potential buyers were circling like hawks. I began the process of clearing out decades of accumulated memories. Each item told a story. Michael's old baseball trophies, Elena's childhood drawings, countless photo albums that seemed to document a family far more loving than the reality I now recognized. I sorted methodically, separating memories from attachments, just as I had learned to do during my military deployments. The first hint of family panic came through a series of increasingly desperate phone calls. Michael's tone shifted from dismissive to urgent. "Mom, what are you doing? You can't just sell the house without consulting us," he demanded during a late-night call. Elena's approach was more manipulative. "Mom, think about Caleb and Emma," she would say, referencing her children. "Where will they stay when they visit?" The implication was clear. I was supposed to maintain this property as a family resource, a perpetual safety net for their convenience. But I had learned a crucial lesson from my years in the military. True strength isn't about maintaining a position at all costs. It's about knowing when to reposition, when to create a new strategy. I contacted a veteran support group I had discovered during my hospital stay. They connected me with Rosa Martinez, a retired Air Force veteran who had gone through a similar family transformation. "The hardest battle," Rosa told me during our first coffee meetup, "is the one you fight against your own family's expectations." The house went on the market with strategic precision. Karen had helped me stage it perfectly, neutral, appealing, a blank canvas for potential buyers. Within weeks, we had multiple offers. Each offer felt like another step towards my personal liberation. Michael flew in unannounced, his corporate attorney persona in full display. "We need to discuss this," he said, following me through the house that was rapidly becoming less and less mine. "This doesn't make any sense. What are you going to do? Where will you live?" I showed him my carefully prepared plan. A small, modified home in a veteran community in New Mexico. Proximity to excellent medical facilities. A support network of fellow veterans. Financial independence secured through the house sale and careful investment of the proceeds. His face shifted through multiple emotions. Disbelief, anger, desperation. "You're being ridiculous," he finally stammered. "What about family? What about your grandchildren?" I remembered a lesson from my military training. The most effective strategy is often the one least expected. "What about me?" I asked simply. Elena's approach was more emotional. She arrived with her children, attempting to weaponize their innocence. "Grandma, you can't leave," little Emma pleaded, her eyes wide and manipulative. I recognized the performance for what it was, a carefully orchestrated guilt trip. The veteran support group became my lifeline. Rosa and other veterans shared stories of reclaiming their lives, of setting boundaries, of choosing themselves after decades of sacrifice. They weren't just offering support, they were showing me a roadmap to freedom. My medical treatments continued, but now with a sense of purpose. Each doctor's appointment, each test, became another step in my personal mission of self-recovery. The heart condition that my family had seen as a limitation became my catalyst for change. I began taking online classes, exploring interests I had put aside for decades. Photography, creative writing, Spanish language courses. Each class was a rebellion against the narrative of decline my family had written for me. The house sale progressed. Potential buyers came and went. Michael tried multiple times to interfere, calling real estate agents, attempting to slow the process. But I had become a master of strategic navigation. When the final offer came, substantially above asking price, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: complete, absolute freedom. My children's reactions crystallized everything: panic, desperation, a sense of losing control over the narrative they had constructed. They weren't mourning the loss of a family home. They were mourning the loss of a resource they had taken for granted. The day I signed the sale documents, I wore my old military blazer, a reminder of who I truly was, not just a mother, not just a resource, but a veteran who had protected an entire nation. Protecting myself was long overdue. As the pen touched the paper, I caught my reflection in the window. A woman reborn. A soldier still fighting, this time for her own future. The New Mexico veteran community welcomed me like a long-lost sister. Nestled in the high desert outside of Albuquerque, the community was a tapestry of stories, resilience, and unexpected second chances. My small, modified home, a compact but efficient space with wide windows overlooking the rugged landscape, felt more like a command center than a retirement dwelling. Dr. Rodriguez, no relation, but we laughed about the coincidence, was the community's primary healthcare coordinator. A former Navy medical officer with a specialized understanding of veteran healthcare, she became my primary physician and unexpected ally. "Your medical journey is a mission," she told me during my first comprehensive health assessment. "And we're going to approach it with the same strategic precision you used in your military service." My heart condition, once a source of family drama and potential limitation, became a challenge to be conquered. Specialized rehabilitation programs designed for veterans provided a holistic approach to my recovery. Physical therapy, nutritional, counseling, mental health support, each component carefully integrated to rebuild my strength. The Veterans Support Group became my new family. Weekly meetups weren't just social gatherings, they were strategic planning sessions for life's next missions. Rosa Martinez, who had initially connected me with the community, became a particularly close friend. A retired Air Force logistics specialist, she understood the art of reinvention. "They didn't expect you to choose yourself," Rosa would say, during our morning coffee sessions. Her own story of breaking free from familial expectations mirrored my own. We laughed about the shocked expressions of children who suddenly realized their parents were fully formed human beings, not just support systems. Michael's attempts to intervene continued. Lawyer letters arrived, carefully worded, but thinly veiled. Threats about potential legal actions regarding the house sale. I forwarded each one to a veteran legal support network I had connected with. They were experts at navigating such familial challenges, providing pro bono support to veterans reclaiming their independence. Elena's approach shifted from manipulation to what she likely considered concern. Carefully crafted messages arrived, referencing the grandchildren, attempting to trigger my maternal instincts. "The kids miss you," one message read. "They don't understand why Grandma disappeared." But I wasn't disappearing. I was emerging. The community offered unprecedented opportunities for personal growth. I enrolled in photography classes, a passion I had suppressed for decades. My military discipline translated perfectly into photographic technique, patience, attention to detail, understanding of light and shadow. My first photography exhibition came as a complete surprise, a collection documenting veteran resilience, portraits that captured the complex emotions of men and women who had served. The local art community was stunned, a 52-year-old veteran, recovering from heart surgery, producing art that spoke volumes about human endurance. Financial independence became my new mission. The house sale proceeds were carefully invested, no more being a family safety net. I created scholarships for veteran children, supported local veteran mental health programs. Each dollar was a strategic deployment of resources. Medical challenges became opportunities for growth. The heart procedure I had feared became a turning point. Advanced treatments, combined with the holistic approach of the veteran community, showed remarkable results. My recovery defied medical expectations. Michael flew in unexpectedly, catching me during a community photography workshop. His corporate suit looked out of place among the relaxed veterans, artists, and healthcare professionals. "Mom," he said, his tone a mixture of confusion and frustration. "What are you doing?" I showed him my latest project, a photographic documentary about veteran resilience. Each image told a story of transformation, of breaking free from expected narratives. He struggled to comprehend the woman before him, so different from the mother he had known. Elena's attempts at reconnection became increasingly desperate. Phone calls, carefully worded emails, attempts to leverage the grandchildren's emotions. But I had become fluent in recognizing emotional manipulation. The veteran community taught me something profound. Independence wasn't about cutting ties. It was about creating meaningful connections on my own terms. I didn't need to be a constant caregiver to be loved. I could be a whole, independent person worthy of respect. My health continued to improve. Rehabilitation programs designed specifically for veterans provided comprehensive support: physical therapy, mental health counseling, nutritional guidance, each component carefully integrated to rebuild not just my body, but my entire sense of self. When the first collection of my photographs was published in a national veteran magazine, Michael and Elena received copies, not as a peace offering, but as a declaration. This was who I was, beyond their expectations, beyond their limited understanding. The desert landscape of New Mexico became my new battlefield. But this time, I was fighting for myself. Every sunrise was a mission accomplished, every sunset a victory claimed. The woman who had once been defined by her family's expectations was now writing her own story. As the community gathered for our weekly veterans support meeting, Rosa leaned over and whispered, "They never saw you coming." I smiled. Some battles are won in silence, some in spectacular fashion. Mine was still unfolding, and I was just getting started. The first major family confrontation came during a video call I deliberately initiated. My children, used to controlling narratives, had no idea what was coming. I had learned from years of military strategy that the most effective operations are those that catch the enemy completely off guard. Dr. Martinez sat just out of camera view, a silent but powerful support system. Her presence was a reminder that I was no longer alone, no longer the isolated woman my family had presumed me to be. The veteran community had become my real family, built on mutual respect, shared experiences, and genuine care. Michael appeared. First, his corporate backdrop meticulously arranged. Elena joined moments later, her classroom visible behind her. The moment they saw me, healthy, confident, surrounded by a space that was entirely my own, I watched their carefully constructed expressions falter. "I want to discuss the future," I began, my voice calm and deliberate. "Specifically, our family's future." The words hung in the air, charged with a significance they couldn't yet comprehend. I laid out everything: the house sale, my medical recovery, the photography project, the veteran community support network. Each revelation was a strategic strike against their long-held assumptions. Michael's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, his lawyer's rhetoric failing him for the first time. Elena attempted her usual emotional manipulation. "Mom, we've been so worried about you," she began, her voice dripping with a concern that rang hollow. "We just want what's best for you." The phrase I had heard 1,000 times, a weapon disguised as love. I pulled out the documentation. Financial records showing how I had been systematically supporting them for years. Medical reports detailing my remarkable recovery. Photographs from my exhibition. Visual proof of my transformation. Each document was a piece of evidence in a trial they didn't know they were fighting. "Let's talk about support," I said, my voice cutting through their attempts at narrative control. "For decades, I supported you both financially and emotionally. Every crisis, every challenge, I was there. But when I needed support, where were you?" The silence was deafening. I shared details of my new life, the veteran community that had become my true family, the photography project documenting veteran resilience, the scholarships I had established, the mental health support programs I was developing. Each revelation was a testament to my independence. Michael tried to reassert control. "Mom, this isn't practical. You can't just throw away family connections over some midlife crisis." The words were familiar, the same dismissive tone he had used throughout my life, but I was no longer the woman who would accept such dismissal. "This isn't about throwing away connections," I explained, each word carefully chosen. "This is about establishing healthy boundaries, about recognizing that love isn't about unlimited sacrifice. It's about mutual respect." Elena's facade cracked. "First, we just wanted to help you," she stammered, but the words rang false. Help had always been their code for control. The veteran community had prepared me for this moment. Support groups, counseling, legal workshops. I had been strategically equipped to handle this confrontation. Rose's words echoed in my mind. "Your greatest weapon is your truth." I presented them with a choice. Not an ultimatum, but a clear path forward. If they wanted a relationship, it would be on equal terms. No more financial dependency. No more emotional manipulation. No more treating me as a resource to be managed. Michael's legal mind kicked in first. "We need to discuss this formally," he said, attempting to regain control. But the ground had shifted beneath his feet. Elena tried a different approach. "What about the grandchildren?" The classic emotional manipulation, weaponizing innocence. "The grandchildren are welcome," I responded, "when they're ready to see me as a person, not a convenience." The call ended with a silence more profound than any words. I turned to Dr. Martinez, who had been quietly observing. "Well," I said, "that went exactly as planned." She laughed. a sound of pure, unrestrained joy. "Tactical precision," she said, "just like a perfect military operation." The veteran community gathered that evening for a celebration, not of my confrontation, but of my transformation. Each veteran there understood the battle I had fought, not with weapons, but with dignity, strategy, and unwavering self-respect. My phone buzzed with messages from support networks, legal advisors confirming my position, veteran support groups offering additional resources, a network of strong, independent individuals who understood the true meaning of family. As the New Mexico sunset painted the sky in vibrant oranges and purples, I realized something profound. This wasn't an ending. This was a beginning, a declaration of independence more powerful than any I had ever known. They had laughed when I said I'd retire alone. But alone was the furthest thing from the truth. I was surrounded by a family of my own choosing, built on respect, shared experiences, and genuine care. My next mission was just beginning. The unexpected knock came on a crisp autumn morning, just as I was preparing for a veteran photography workshop. Emma, my youngest granddaughter, stood on the doorstep. Not with her parents, not as part of a calculated family maneuver, but completely alone. She was 12, an age of emerging independence and raw honesty. Her backpack was slightly oversized, her eyes a mixture of defiance and vulnerability that reminded me so much of myself at her age. "I wanted to understand," she said simply, before I could even invite her inside. The Veteran Community Center had become my sanctuary, but today it would become something else entirely. Emma walked beside me, asking questions that cut through years of family complexity with the sharp clarity of youth. "Why did everyone get so angry?" she asked. "Why did you have to leave?" I chose honesty, the same approach that had become my greatest weapon and strongest shield. I showed her my photography collection, explaining each image as a story of resilience. Veterans who had rebuilt their lives, who had found strength in unexpected places. Emma listened with an intensity that belied her years. Her questions revealed more than she knew. Michael and Elena's divorce had become messy. The financial pressures they had always hidden were now surfacing. The perfect family narrative they had constructed was crumbling, brick by carefully placed brick. "Dad says you abandoned the family," Emma said matter-of-factly. "But Mom cries when she talks about how much she misses her mom." The brutal honesty of childhood, a truth serum more powerful than any interrogation technique. I shared stories of my military service, not as heroic tales, but as lessons in human resilience. How survival wasn't about grand gestures, but about making difficult choices. How family wasn't about unlimited sacrifice, but about mutual respect. The Veteran Community Center became our meeting ground over the next few weeks. Emma would arrive after school, sometimes with homework, sometimes with questions. Rosa Martinez and other veterans became unexpected mentors. They taught her about boundaries, about self-respect, about building a life on her own terms. Michael's attempts to control the situation became increasingly desperate. Legal letters arrived, threatening custody challenges, financial investigations. But the veteran support network was comprehensive. Legal advisors, mental health professionals, financial counselors, a complete strategic defense system. Elena's approach was more nuanced. Worried messages, careful inquiries, attempts to understand without directly confronting. The family dynamics were shifting, like tectonic plates slowly realigning. Emma became a bridge, not by design, but by the pure, unfiltered honesty of childhood. She began sharing stories from home. Michael's increasing financial stress, Elena's struggle to maintain the facade of a perfect family. The cracks were becoming fissures. My photography project expanded. A documentary about intergenerational veteran experiences, with Emma increasingly becoming a collaborator. Her perspective, young, unfiltered, curious, brought a new dimension to the work. The veteran community rallied around this unexpected development. Support groups for families, workshops on communication, resources for grandparents navigating complex family dynamics. Emma was learning more than she could have imagined. A breakthrough came during a community event. Michael arrived, not with legal documents or calculated strategies, but with a vulnerability I had never seen before. His corporate armor had crumbled, revealing a man struggling with his own limitations. "I don't know how to fix this," he admitted, watching Emma laugh with the veteran community members. The admission was more powerful than any legal argument, any emotional manipulation. Elena followed weeks later. Not to argue, not to manipulate, but to understand. The photography exhibition became a neutral ground, a space where family wounds could begin to heal. The veteran community taught us all a crucial lesson. Reconciliation isn't about forgetting. It's about understanding, about creating new patterns of communication, new ways of supporting each other. Emma became the unexpected catalyst. Her school project on family stories turned into a powerful documentary, interviewing veterans about family, sacrifice, and resilience. My story became one chapter in a much larger narrative. Financial challenges forced Michael and Elena to confront their own patterns. The perfect facade they had maintained was crumbling. They were learning the same lessons I had. That true strength comes from vulnerability, from acknowledging limitations. The Veteran Support Network expanded, programs for intergenerational healing, workshops on communication, resources for families navigating complex emotional landscapes. What had begun as my personal mission was becoming a movement. As the New Mexico sunset painted the sky, Emma looked at me with a wisdom beyond her years. "Grandma," she said, "I think I'm starting to understand." The word understand carried more weight than she knew. A bridge between generations, between old patterns and new possibilities. My next mission was already taking shape. Not just personal healing, but creating a network of support for families, learning to see each other as complete, complex human beings. The house I had sold was just the beginning. The real transformation was just getting started. The National Veteran Support Conference in Washington, D.C. was never supposed to become a turning point. I had been invited to present my photography project, to speak about intergenerational healing and veteran resilience. What happened would change everything. My presentation wasn't just about photographs. It was a dissection of family dynamics, of societal expectations that trap veterans in cycles of silent sacrifice. Emma, now 13, stood beside me, not as a prop, but as a co-presenter. Her perspective brought a rawness that professional speakers could never capture. The conference hall was filled with veterans from every branch, every generation. Retired generals sat alongside young service members, disability advocates, mental health professionals. When Emma began speaking about our family's journey, the room went absolutely silent. My grandfather always thought supporting the family meant financial sacrifice, she said, her voice clear and unwavering. My grandmother showed us that true support is about respect, about seeing each other as full human beings. Our story became more than a personal narrative. It became a blueprint for veteran families struggling with intergenerational trauma, with expectations that suffocate rather than support. Michael and Elena watched from the back of the room. Their presence was unexpected, a testament to the complex journey we had undertaken. I could see the conflict in their eyes: pride, shame, confusion, hope, all battling for dominance. The Veteran Support Network had been preparing for this moment. Legal teams, mental health professionals, family counselors, a comprehensive support system that understood the nuanced challenges veterans face when rebuilding family relationships. Dr. Rodriguez, my primary physician and now a close friend, presented groundbreaking research on veteran family dynamics. Her work showed how traditional support models often perpetuate harmful cycles of dependency and emotional manipulation. "We've treated veterans as problems to be solved," she told. The conference, instead of recognizing them as complex individuals with ongoing potential for growth and transformation. Emma's documentary, developed from her school project, premiered at the conference. It was a raw, unfiltered look at veteran family experiences, interviews with veterans from different generations, different conflicts, all sharing a common thread of survival and resilience. The national media picked up the story. What had begun as our personal journey became a national conversation about veteran support, family dynamics, and intergenerational healing. Legal challenges from Michael and Elena had long since dissolved. The conference presentation became a watershed moment. Their attempts to control the narrative crumbled under the weight of our collective truth. Rosa Martinez and other veteran support leaders began developing comprehensive programs based on our experience. Workshops on family communication, support groups for veterans navigating complex family dynamics, resources for grandparents seeking to rebuild relationships. The Veteran Community Center in New Mexico became a national model. What had started as a local support network was now receiving federal funding, national recognition. Our story had become a catalyst for systemic change. Emma's involvement took an unexpected turn. She began developing technology platforms to connect veterans with support resources. Her perspective, young, tech-savvy, emotionally intelligent, brought innovation to veteran support systems. Michael's corporate world began to change. The pressure of maintaining a perfect facade crumbled. He started developing workplace support programs for veterans, inspired by our family's journey. Elena found her calling in educational support for children of veterans. The photography project expanded nationally. Exhibitions in major cities, documentaries, educational programs. Each image told a story of resilience, of breaking free from expected narratives. Our family became a case study in transformation. Not through perfection, but through honest confrontation of complex emotional landscapes. The Veteran Support Network developed comprehensive resources: mental health support, financial counseling, family mediation, a holistic approach to veteran reintegration that went far beyond traditional models. Emma's technology platform became a breakthrough, connecting veterans with support resources, creating community networks, providing mental health support. What had begun as a personal project was becoming a national movement. National policy discussions began incorporating our narrative. Veteran support wasn't just about medical care or financial benefits. It was about recognizing veterans as full, complex human beings with ongoing potential for growth and transformation. The conference became a turning point, not just for our family, but for how society conceptualizes veteran support. Emma's generation was reimagining support systems with a level of emotional intelligence that previous generations had missed. Michael and Elena's transformation was perhaps the most unexpected. They began working with veteran support networks, developing programs that recognize the complexity of family dynamics. Our story became more than a personal narrative. It became a blueprint for veteran families navigating complex emotional landscapes, a testament to the power of honest communication, of seeing each other as full, complex human beings. The Veteran Community Center in New Mexico continued to grow. What had begun as my personal sanctuary became a national model for holistic veteran support. As the conference concluded, Emma looked at me with a mixture of pride and determination. "This is just the beginning," she said. The words carried the weight of a generation reimagining support, connection, and family. Our next mission was already taking shape. Not just personal healing, but creating a national movement of understanding, respect, and genuine support. 5 years had passed since that transformative conference. The landscape of veteran support had changed dramatically, and our families journey had become a catalyst for a national movement of understanding and healing. The White House ceremony was surreal. Emma, now 18, stood beside me as we received a special commendation for our work in veteran family support. Her technology platform had grown into a comprehensive network supporting thousands of veteran families, bridging generations and breaking down communication barriers. Michael and Elena sat in the front row, their presence a testament to the complex journey of healing. No longer adversaries, but partners in a mission larger than themselves. Michael had transformed his corporate consulting firm into a leading veteran support organization, while Elena developed innovative educational programs for children of veterans. Dr. Rodriguez's research had revolutionized veteran healthcare. Her holistic approach, treating veterans as whole individuals with ongoing potential for growth, was now standard practice in VA hospitals across the country. The comprehensive support model we had championed had become a blueprint for veteran reintegration. The Veteran Community Center in New Mexico had expanded into a national network. What began as a local support group was now a comprehensive resource center, with branches in every state. Rosa Martinez, now a national consultant, traveled extensively, sharing our model of intergenerational healing and support. Emma's technology platform had become more than just a support network. It was a lifeline for veterans and their families. Advanced AI-driven support systems, mental health resources, family communication tools, all developed with the nuanced understanding of veteran experiences. Our photography project had evolved into a national archive of veteran stories, exhibitions, documentaries, educational resources, each image a testament to the complexity of veteran experiences. The project had become a critical tool for understanding the true human cost and resilience of military service. The legal battles that once defined our family relationship were now a distant memory. Michael and Elena had found their own paths of healing, developing support programs that recognized the complexity of veteran family dynamics. A breakthrough came in federal policy. New legislation, inspired by our work, provided comprehensive support for veterans beyond traditional medical and financial assistance, mental health support, family mediation, career transition programs, a holistic approach to veteran reintegration. Emma's work extended beyond technology. She had become a powerful advocate, speaking at national conferences, developing educational programs that bridged generational gaps in understanding veteran experiences. The veteran support network we had built was now a comprehensive ecosystem. Mental health professionals, legal experts, technology innovators, all working together to create a supportive environment for veterans and their families. Our family's journey had become a case study in transformation. Not through perfection, but through honest confrontation of complex emotional landscapes. Michael and Elena had found their own paths of healing, developing support programs that recognize the complexity of veteran family dynamics. The national narrative around veterans was changing, no longer seen as problems to be solved, but as complex individuals with ongoing potential for growth and contribution. Our story had become a catalyst for this fundamental shift in understanding. Emma's technology platform continued to evolve. Advanced AI-driven support systems, mental health resources, family communication tools, all developed with the nuanced understanding of veteran experiences. What had begun as a personal project was now a national resource. Dr. Rodriguez's research had expanded nationally. Comprehensive studies on veteran family dynamics, mental health support, intergenerational healing, a holistic approach that went far beyond traditional medical models. The photography project had become a critical historical archive, not just of veteran experiences, but of the human capacity for resilience, transformation, and healing. Each image told a story of survival, of breaking free from expected narratives. National policy discussions now incorporated our comprehensive approach to veteran support, It wasn't just about medical care or financial benefits. It was about recognizing veterans as full, complex human beings with ongoing potential for growth and transformation. The Veteran Community Center in New Mexico had become a national model. What had started as a local support network was now a comprehensive resource center with branches in every state. Our approach to veteran support had become a national standard. As we stood on the stage at the White House, I looked at Emma, no longer a child, but a powerful advocate and innovator. Our journey had been about more than personal healing. It had been about reimagining support, connection, and family. The national media had dubbed it the Rodriguez Family Veteran Support Revolution. But for us, it was simply about seeing each other as full, complex human beings. Emma squeezed my hand as we accepted the commendation. "We're not done yet," she whispered. The words carried the weight of a generation committed to transformation, to breaking down barriers, to creating genuine understanding. Our next mission was already taking shape, not just national support, but a global movement of healing, respect, and genuine connection. The United Nations Conference on Veteran Support and Family Dynamics was not something I had ever imagined being part of. Yet here I was, representing a global initiative that had grown from our personal journey of healing and transformation. Emma, now leading the international division of our Veteran Support Network, stood beside me. Her presentation was a masterclass in technological innovation and human compassion. Delegates from over 40 countries leaned forward, captivated by the comprehensive approach we had developed. Our work had transcended national boundaries. What began as a personal family struggle in a small New Mexico veteran community had become a global movement of understanding, support, and reconnection. The technology platform Emma had developed was now being implemented in conflict zones around the world, not just as a support tool, but as a bridge-building mechanism for communities fractured by generations of military conflict. Dr. Rodriguez had been invited to develop a global research initiative. Her work on veteran family dynamics was now being applied to post-conflict regions, helping families and communities heal from the deep wounds of prolonged military engagements. Michael's consulting firm had transformed into an international organization specializing in veteran reintegration. He worked closely with governments and nonprofit organizations, developing comprehensive support models that recognize the complex human experiences behind military service. Elena had become a global education consultant, developing programs that helped children of veterans understand their family histories, process intergenerational trauma, and find paths to healing and understanding. The photography project had evolved into a global archive of veteran experiences. Exhibitions now traveled internationally, telling stories of resilience from conflict zones around the world. Each image was a testament to the universal human experience of survival, of finding hope in the most challenging circumstances. Our approach to veteran support was revolutionary. It wasn't about managing a population, but about recognizing the full humanity of those who had served. Mental health support, family mediation, career transition assistance, a holistic model that addressed the comprehensive needs of veterans and their families. The veteran support network we had built now operated in conflict and post-conflict zones around the world. From the Middle East to Southeast Asia, from Eastern Europe to Africa, our model of comprehensive support was transforming how societies understood and supported their veterans. Emma's technology platform had become a critical tool for global conflict resolution. Advanced AI-driven systems that not only supported veterans, but helped build bridges between communities historically divided by conflict. The United Nations delegates represented a cross-section of global experiences, veterans from different countries, different conflicts, all finding common ground in our approach to healing and support. Dr. Rodriguez presented groundbreaking research on the long-term impacts of military service on families and communities. Her work showed how comprehensive support could break cycles of intergenerational trauma, creating pathways to healing and understanding. Our family's journey had become a global case study in transformation. Not through perfection, but through honest confrontation of complex emotional landscapes. The Rodriguez family had become a symbol of hope, of the possibility of healing and reconnection. The technology Emma had developed was now being used in refugee support programs, in conflict resolution initiatives, in mental health support networks. What had begun as a personal project had become a global tool for understanding and healing. Michael's work with international organizations had revealed the universal nature of our experience. Veterans around the world shared similar challenges: feelings of disconnection, struggles with reintegration, complex family dynamics. Elena's educational programs were now being implemented in schools in post-conflict regions, helping young people understand the complex experiences of their parents, breaking down barriers of misunderstanding and resentment. The photography project had become a critical tool for global understanding, not just of veteran experiences, but of the human capacity for resilience, for finding hope in the most challenging circumstances. Our approach to veteran support was being studied by governments, nonprofit organizations, mental health professionals around the world. It wasn't just about medical care or financial assistance. It was about recognizing the full humanity of those who had served. The veteran support network we had built had become a global ecosystem. Mental health professionals, technology innovators, family counselors, all working together to create supportive environments for veterans and their families. As the conference concluded, Emma looked at me with the same determination I had seen years ago. But now it was the determination of a global leader, of someone committed to systemic change on an international scale. The United Nations delegates gave a standing ovation, not just to us, but to the possibility of healing, of understanding, of breaking down the barriers that divide us. Our story had become more than a personal journey. It was a global movement of hope, of recognition of the full complexity of human experience. "We're just getting started," Emma whispered as we left the stage. The words carried the weight of a global movement committed to transformation, to breaking down barriers, to creating genuine understanding across cultures, generations, and experiences. Our next mission was already taking shape, not just national or international support, but a fundamental reimagining of how we understand human resilience, connection, and healing. The small community center in New Mexico felt different now. What had once been our sanctuary had become a global beacon of hope, a testament to the power of transformation that began with a single decision to reclaim my life. Emma's daughter, Sophia, now 12, sat beside me. The family legacy of resilience, of breaking free from expected narratives, continued through her. She was recording our story, not just for our family, but for a global archive of veteran experiences. Decades of work had transformed our lives in ways we could never have imagined. The Rodriguez Family Veteran Support Initiative had become a global movement, touching lives across continents, breaking down barriers of misunderstanding and healing intergenerational wounds. Michael, now in his 70s, had become a respected international consultant on veteran reintegration. The corporate lawyer who once saw me as a problem to be managed had become a powerful advocate for comprehensive veteran support. Elena had developed a global network of educational programs, helping children of veterans understand their family histories, process complex emotions, and find paths to healing and understanding. Dr. Rodriguez, now retired but still actively involved in research, had fundamentally changed how the medical community approached veteran health care. Her holistic model of support had become a standard approach in medical training worldwide. Rosa Martinez, the veteran who had been our earliest supporter, now led a global network of veteran support communities. What had begun as a local support group had become an international movement of healing and connection. The technology platform Emma had developed had evolved beyond anything we could have imagined. Advanced AI systems that provided comprehensive support, bridging communication gaps, helping veterans and their families find paths to understanding. Our photography project had become a critical historical archive. Exhibitions in major museums around the world, documenting the complex human experiences behind military service. Each image told a story of resilience, of survival, of finding hope in the most challenging circumstances. Sophia looked at me with the same intense curiosity that Emma had shown years ago. "Tell me about the moment everything changed," she asked, her recording device ready. I thought back to that first decision. The moment I chose myself. The moment I decided that my life was more than a resource to be managed by my children. The moment I sold the family home and began my journey of transformation. The global veteran support network we had built was now a comprehensive ecosystem. Mental health professionals, technology innovators, family counselors, all working together to create supportive environments for veterans and their families. Emma's work had expanded beyond technology. She had become a global leader in veteran support, developing comprehensive programs that address the complex needs of veterans. Across different cultures, different conflicts, Michael and Elena had found their own paths of healing. No longer defined by their earlier attempts to control or manipulate, they had become true partners in our mission of support and understanding. The Rodriguez Family Veteran Support Initiative had become more than an organization. It was a movement of hope, of recognition of the full complexity of human experience. Sophia's recording captured something profound. This wasn't just a family story. It was a story of human resilience, of the power of choosing oneself, of breaking free from expected narratives. Dr. Rodriguez's research had become a cornerstone of how we understand veteran experiences, not just as medical cases, but as full, complex human beings with ongoing potential for growth and transformation. The technology platform continued to evolve. Advanced AI-driven support systems that not only supported veterans, but helped build bridges between communities, between generations, between different human experiences. Our approach to veteran support had become a global standard. Comprehensive support that recognized the full humanity of those who had served. Mental health support, family mediation, career transition assistance, a holistic model that addressed the comprehensive needs of veterans and their families. Body. Veteran support network we had built operated in conflict and post-conflict zones around the world. From the Middle East to Southeast Asia, from Eastern Europe to Africa, our model of comprehensive support was transforming how societies understood and supported their veterans. As Sophia continued recording, I reflected on the journey. What had begun as a personal struggle had become a global movement of healing and understanding. The small community center where we sat was a living museum of our journey. Photographs, technology displays, archival materials, a testament to the power of choosing oneself, of breaking free from expected narratives. Emma joined us, her presence a bridge between generations. She looked at Sophia with the same love, the same hope that I had always tried to give her. "Every generation has a choice," Emma said to Sophia. "A choice to continue old patterns or to create something new. To see people, truly see them, in all their complexity." Sophia nodded, her young face already showing the determination that had defined our family's journey. As the New Mexico sunset painted the sky, I realized our story was far from over. It was a continuing journey of healing, of understanding, of recognizing the full potential of human resilience. Our legacy was not about what we had achieved. It was about the possibility of transformation, of choosing oneself, of creating a world of deeper understanding. "We're still just getting started," I whispered, echoing the words Emma had spoken years ago. "The journey continues." The global conference on human resilience marked a pivotal moment in our ongoing journey. Researchers, policymakers, veterans, and family advocates from every continent gathered to explore the transformative model we had developed over decades of work. Sophia, now a renowned researcher in her own right, stood at the podium. Her presentation traced the evolution of our family's approach to veteran support, from a personal struggle to a global movement of healing and understanding. The audience sat in rapt attention, witnessing how one family's journey had fundamentally reshaped global perspectives on veteran support. The Rodriguez family archives had become a critical resource for understanding human resilience. Millions of digital and physical documents, photographs, technological innovations, a comprehensive chronicle of how individual choice can create systemic transformation. Emma, now in her early 60s, had become a global thought leader. Her technology platforms had evolved beyond traditional support systems. Advanced AI-driven networks that could predict and prevent veteran mental health crises, bridge communication gaps between veterans and their families, and create supportive ecosystems across cultural boundaries. Dr. Rodriguez's research had been posthumously awarded multiple international recognitions. Her holistic approach to veteran healthcare had become the standard model in medical training worldwide. Universities now offered entire degree programs based on the comprehensive support model we had pioneered. Michael's international consulting firm had transformed global approaches to veteran reintegration. What had begun as a personal redemption had become a comprehensive system for supporting veterans across different cultures, different conflict zones, different economic contexts. Elena's educational programs now operated in over 60 countries. She had developed innovative curricula that helped children of veterans understand complex family histories, process intergenerational trauma, and find paths to healing and understanding. The photography project had become a critical global archive. Major museums around the world featured exhibitions that told the complex stories of veteran experiences. Each image was more than a photograph. It was a testament to human resilience, to the power of choosing oneself. Sophia's research had taken our work to new heights. She had developed advanced predictive models that could identify potential mental health challenges in veteran populations before they became critical. Her work bridged psychology, technology, and social support in ways no one had previously imagined. The global veteran support network we had built now operated in virtually every country, a comprehensive ecosystem of mental health professionals, technology innovators, family counselors, all working together to create supportive environments for veterans and their families. At the conference, a special tribute was held for the original members of our support network. Rosa Martinez, now in her 90s, received a standing ovation. Her early support had been crucial in transforming our personal struggle into a global movement. Researchers presented case studies from around the world. From conflict zones in the Middle East to post-colonial regions in Africa, our support model had been adapted to local contexts, creating pathways of healing that transcended cultural boundaries. Emma's technology platform had become a critical tool for global conflict resolution. Advanced AI systems that not only supported veterans, but helped build bridges between communities historically divided by conflict. Governments and nonprofit organizations used our technology to create supportive ecosystems. The Rodriguez Family Veteran Support Initiative had become more than an organization. It was a global philosophy of human support, of recognizing the full complexity of human experiences. Sophia's presentation revealed the deep scientific foundations of our approach. Advanced research showed how comprehensive support could fundamentally alter neural pathways, breaking cycles of intergenerational trauma, creating new possibilities for human connection and healing. The conference hall was a testament to global transformation. Veterans from different conflicts, different countries, different generations, all finding common ground in our approach to understanding and support. Michael presented research on economic reintegration of veterans. His work showed how comprehensive support could transform veterans from potential economic burdens to critical contributors to global innovation and social progress. Elena's global educational network had become a critical resource for understanding veteran experiences. Programs that helped children and families process complex emotional landscapes, break down barriers of misunderstanding. The technology platform continued to evolve. AI-driven support systems that could predict and prevent mental health challenges, create personalized support networks, bridge communication gaps across generations and cultures. Our approach to veteran support had become a global standard, comprehensive, support that recognized the full humanity of those who had served. Mental health support, family mediation, career transition assistance, a holistic model that addressed the comprehensive needs of veterans and their families. As the conference concluded, a special memorial was held, a global tribute to veterans who had found healing, to families who had reconnected, to the power of choosing oneself. Sophia looked at me, her eyes reflecting the same determination I had seen in Emma decades ago. "We're continuing the work," she said simply. The words carried the weight of a global movement committed to transformation, to breaking down barriers, to creating genuine understanding. The Rodriguez family archives would continue to grow. Not as a museum of past achievements, but as a living testament to the ongoing potential for human healing, for transformation, for creating connections that transcend individual experiences. As the sun set on the conference, casting long shadows, across the global gathering, I realized our journey was far from over. It was a continuing exploration of human potential, of the power of choosing oneself, of creating a world of deeper understanding. "We're still just getting started," I whispered, echoing the words that had defined our family's journey for generations. The eternal ripple of transformation continues. Time becomes a different concept when you've lived a life of purpose. My body was now in its 80s, but my spirit remained as fierce and determined as the day I first decided to reclaim my life. The Rodriguez Family Legacy Center stood as a testament to a journey that had transformed from a personal struggle to a global movement of healing and hope. Sophia's daughter, Maya, now led the next generation of our family's mission. A brilliant technologist and human rights advocate, she had inherited not just our approach to veteran support, but our fundamental belief in human potential for transformation. The global network we had built had become a living, breathing ecosystem of support. Technologies developed by our team were now used in conflict resolution, mental health support, and community healing across 6 continents. What had begun in a small New Mexico community center had become a global philosophy of human connection. Our archives contained more than documents and photographs. They were a living history of human resilience. Millions of stories of veterans who had found healing, of families reconnected, of individuals who had chosen themselves against overwhelming odds. Emma's original technology platform had evolved beyond anything we could have imagined. Advanced AI systems that could predict mental health challenges, create personalized support networks, bridge communication gaps across generations and cultures. It was more than technology. It was a global nervous system of human understanding. The Rodriguez Family Veteran Support Initiative had become a blueprint for human support. Universities around the world now offered entire degree programs based on our comprehensive approach to understanding human resilience. Our model had transformed how societies approached support, healing, and human potential. Maya stood before a global audience, presenting the latest innovations. Quantum computing technologies that could create predictive support networks, advanced neural mapping that could help individuals understand and heal intergenerational trauma. The work continued, evolving, expanding. Michael and Elena, now in their late 70s, remained active advisors. Their journey of personal transformation had become a critical part of our global narrative. They traveled, spoke, shared the story of how a family could heal, could choose understanding over conflict. The photography project had become a global archive of human experience. Major museums around the world featured exhibitions that told complex stories of resilience, of choosing oneself, of finding hope in the most challenging circumstances. Our support network now operated in virtually every country. A comprehensive ecosystem of mental health professionals, technology innovators, family counselors, all working together to create supportive environments for individuals facing complex life challenges. A special memorial hall in the Legacy Center honored the original members of our support network. Rosa Martinez's photograph hung prominently, a reminder of how critical early support had been to our transformation. The global conference We Buy Sidam had started decades ago had become an annual event. Researchers, policymakers, veterans, and advocates from around the world gathered to share innovations, to explore new approaches to human support and healing. Maya's research had taken our work to extraordinary heights. She had developed technologies that could map emotional landscapes, create personalized healing pathways, bridge communication gaps across generations and cultures. The Rodriguez family archives continued to grow, not as a static museum, but as a living, breathing documentation of human potential. Each new story added to our collection was a testament to the power of choosing oneself, of creating transformation. Our approach had become a global standard for understanding human resilience. Comprehensive support that recognized the full humanity of individuals, mental health support, family mediation, personal development assistance, a holistic model that addressed the comprehensive needs of human experience. As I sat in the Legacy Center, surrounded by the vibrant energy of generations of transformation, I reflected on our journey. From a single moment of personal choice to a global movement of healing and understanding. Maya approached, her eyes reflecting the same determination I had seen in Emma, in Sophia, in generations of Rodriguez women who had chosen to transform their lives. "Are you ready?" she asked, preparing for another global presentation. I smiled. The work continues. Closing invitation to listeners. This is the story of how one family's journey became a global movement of healing and hope. But every transformation begins with a single choice, your choice. If you've been inspired by our story, if you believe in the power of resilience, of choosing yourself, of creating genuine understanding, we invite you to join our community. Subscribe to the Rodriguez Family Legacy channel. Follow our podcast. Join our global network of support and transformation. Your story matters. Your healing matters. Your potential is unlimited. Hit subscribe. Be part of the movement. The next chapter of transformation starts with you.